Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've been wanting to build box joints for a long time because I've been wanting to build boxes for storage around my workshop and just as nice little decorative items. So I, having been wanting to do this but not having a router table or a table saw, I put my thinking cap on and after a few days of experimentation I came up with this jig which I have used to guide a handheld router along this track here, and after a lot of trial and error managed to make box joints. So I'll show you how it works. So first of all, this housing just sits on the bench and it's just made of MDF, and it has rails along the bottom for sliding a carriage along, and it's open on the bottom so that longer work pieces can go in it and stick out the bottom if you're making drawers or something. And on top it has the rails which take the router, and the rails are just made of aluminium, but I line the sides with UHMP, plastic, just because the castings on this cheap Aussie Tools router were digging into the aluminium and wouldn't slide nicely. So anyway, that's how that works. And then the carriage mechanism looks like this, and essentially this is a clamp for the workpiece to go into, and just clamp it up like that, put it inside the housing, tighten that up, and it slides along and you push the router across to do the cuts. So the first thing I do is just remove the carriage, take off the side and flip it, and then grab a sacrificial piece and just align my blanks with the grain that I'm about to cut facing down. Put it inside the clamp, and I just align them with the spacer bar just to make sure I push them up against the space just so they stay in line with each other, and then just tighten that up. Remove the spacer. the carriage back up the right way. And I use this board to check flush, so there shouldn't be any gaps here. And I'll just get down low and make sure that there's no gap. And this looks fine. To make sure it's real tight, otherwise the force of the spinning router can sometimes move the boards. Put the side back on. And put it back in the housing. This clamp here is for taking away that play, to get a bit of play here. So I tighten up both ends of this to eliminate any play that is there. And there you go, that's solid as a rock. Right, the next thing I do is calibrate the bit against the workpiece. So I have my bit depressed and I pull that up into the cutting position and push the first workpiece up to where it's just touching the bit. So that represents my 0 position. Next, I come around to the front. Over here I take my incrementing bar, push that up against 0, and then position the pinhole so there's a pinhole there. Pin it, and then I lock it. I'll lock it down real tight because I don't want it moving while I run through the cutting. So I'll attach my dust collection, and so the basic action is pulling the router across the slide, which of course cuts the wood in its path. And to get the first cut going, I loosen the jaws a bit, take out the pin, and just increment the pin along by 1 notch. Move the carriage until it bumps up against the incrementing bar again, and then clamp so that the carriage can't move during the cut. I'll run through a series of cuts now and see you on the other side. always cut the other pieces with and offset the width of one of the pins. So I'm going to explain how I do that now. So now I'm locked in tight in my home position, I could call it, and I want to shim this out by another 6mm to offset the cutting by the width of the cutting bit. So I'm just going to use a 6mm bit, drill bit, and that will offset my incrementing bar by 6mm.